Before it happened, I was just an ordinary guy. I worked 9 to 5, came home tired, wasted weekends on movies, and late-night calls with friends. Nothing strange, nothing worth remembering. But then, one night, everything stopped. I disappeared. To me, it felt like a few just flashes of cold light, voices in my head, and the sound of something beating inside me that wasn't mine. But when I opened my eyes again, a whole year had passed. My family thought I was dead. My friends had mourned me. And yet, I hadn't aged a single day. The doctors ran their tests. At first they said it was impossible. Then they went silent. Because on every scan, the truth was undeniable. I had not one, but 2 hearts beating inside my chest. From that moment, my life was divided into before and after. Subscribe now, because what I'm about to tell you is the truth they tried to bury. I never thought the last ordinary day of my life would look so unremarkable. The morning began like any other. Coffee too bitter, a quick glance at unread emails, the same commute past the same tired faces on the subway. I remember staring at the reflection in the train window, wondering if this was it, if life would just keep repeating in loops until I grew old. At work, nothing changed. Meetings that felt pointless, co-workers complaining about deadlines. I even joked with my friend Mark on our lunch break. "You're burning out," he said. "Maybe," I laughed, "but I'm still breathing." That night, I walked home through quiet streets. The city felt unusually still, the air heavy with a silence that wasn't natural. Streetlights buzzed faintly, their glow flickering like candle flames. By the time I reached my apartment, I felt a tension I couldn't explain, as if the world was holding its breath. Inside, I tried to sleep, but rest never came. My clock read 1:57 a.m. I rolled over, blinked, and it read 2:14 a.m. The second hand twitched backward, then forward again. My stomach tightened. I sat up, staring at the numbers dancing erratically. That's when I heard it. A low hum, like a distant engine, reverberating through the walls. Not from outside, not from the street or the building. It came from the air itself, surrounding me. I opened my door and stepped into the hallway. The sound grew louder. Halfway down, I froze. My neighbor was standing there, frozen mid-step, a grocery bag in one hand. His eyes were open, but he didn't blink. The bag slipped, oranges rolling across the floor, but he didn't react. I whispered, "Hello?" No answer. The silence deepened, pressing against my ears. Outside, I saw the street through the glass doors. Cars stalled, headlights frozen. A dog mid-leap in the park across the street, suspended like a photo. Time had stopped. And then came the pain. My chest burned, as though a fist were squeezing my heart. I staggered, gripping the wall, but the beat I felt inside wasn't just one, it was two. Two rhythms, one fast, one slow, colliding in my chest. A shadow moved in the corner of my vision. Tall, thin figures, gray as ash, emerged from the stillness. They didn't walk, they simply appeared, folding out of the air. One stood before me, towering, its eyes endless black voids. My body locked up, every muscle frozen. And yet I heard its voice, not with my ears, but inside my skull. "You will not return the same." The hum became deafening. My vision blurred, collapsing into blinding white. And just like that, I was no longer in my world. When my vision cleared, I was no longer standing in the hallway of my apartment. The walls, the frozen world, even the sound of my own building. All of it had vanished. I lay on a smooth white surface that curved beneath me like glass molded into shape. The air was sharp, metallic, and humming with a vibration that seemed to pass straight into my bones. I tried to sit up, but my body refused to obey. as if invisible hands pinned me down. Around me, dozens of people lay in similar positions. Some stirred weakly, others lay perfectly still. Transparent capsules hovered in neat rows, each holding a body submerged in some kind of pale fluid. Faces pressed faintly against the glass. Men, women, even children. All silent. Their eyes rolling slowly beneath closed lids. I wasn't dreaming. This wasn't anesthesia or a hallucination. Every detail was too crisp. The condensation dripping inside the capsules, the faint flicker of blue light running like veins across the ceiling, the low synchronized pulse echoing through the walls. Then I realized it wasn't the walls. It was my chest. The beat was wrong. Two rhythms now thudded inside me, one pounding frantically like a drum in a storm, the other slow, deliberate, alien. Together they clashed, forcing my ribs to ache as if they might crack. A shadow moved. One of them approached, a towering gray figure, limbs long and too thin, head smooth with those black, depthless eyes. It bent over me, studying. Its face had no expression, but its gaze cut through me like a scalpel. I tried to scream, to speak, but the voice came first inside my skull. Organ unstable. Integration necessary. The creature raised a hand. From its palm sprouted strands of light, weaving together like fibers until they hardened into a glowing instrument. I felt heat across my chest. The skin parted on its own, not cut, not torn, just opened, as though my body had been programmed to comply. Cold flooded in. I wanted to vomit, to thrash, but I was locked in place. And then it happened. Something pressed inside, sliding between muscle and bone. A weight, a presence, settling deep in my chest cavity. For a moment, I thought they had simply torn me apart until the second rhythm boomed to life. Bass dump. But dump. Two hearts. One I knew, familiar and frantic. The other heavy, resonant, like a war drum echoing through hollow mountains. My vision blurred as the alien leaned closer. Stabilization in progress. Beside me, a man in another capsule awoke and began thrashing violently. His screams were drowned by the hum of the ship as his chest bulged unnaturally. A moment later, silence, his capsule sealed, filling with fluid. I gasped, horror crashing through me. "Why me? What do you want?" The voice returned. Steady, calm, merciless. "You are not chosen. You are built." The hum grew louder. Days passed, or maybe only hours. I couldn't tell. Light inside the chamber never changed, a constant pale glow. I was fed strange fluids through a tube that appeared whenever I grew weak. Time stretched like elastic, yet each beat of my heart's kept me tethered to the horror. At one point, I managed to whisper to the woman lying near me, her eyes barely open. "How long have you been here?" She shivered, her lips pale. "Weeks. Maybe months. I don't know anymore." Her eyes flicked toward the ceiling, and for the first time I noticed. Vast panels sliding open, revealing stars, thousands of them, shifting past as though we were flying faster than light itself. My stomach turned cold. Time here didn't flow like it did at home. And deep down, I already knew. If I ever returned, nothing would be the same. I don't know how long I was trapped there. Hours stretched into days, days into something more. The light never dimmed. The air never changed. It was a place without seasons, without clocks, where the only passage of time was the relentless pounding of my two hearts, colliding and merging in unnatural rhythm. I wasn't alone. Sometimes I heard the faint cries of others echoing through the chamber. Sometimes I saw them moved, their capsules sliding silently into different halls, like pieces on an assembly line. A few never came back. The gray beings monitored everything. They walked with movements too smooth, as if the air parted for them. They never spoke aloud, but their voices pressed against my skull like pressure waves. Stabilization complete. Resonance levels rising. Subject integration continuing. Each time they approached me, my second heart reacted. It beat harder, sinking to their steps, like it recognized them as its true owners. My own heart tried to resist, hammering faster until I thought I might explode. At some point, I stopped fighting and listened. And that was worse. The second heart brought visions. Flashes not my own. I saw landscapes of cold black stone lit by rivers of light. I saw creatures with 3, even 4 hearts, their chests glowing faintly as they gathered around vast machines that pulsed like organs. And always I heard the beat. A universal rhythm that stretched across the stars. One night or whatever passed for night there, I whispered to the woman near me, the one who had spoken before. "Do you remember how long you've been here?" Her lips trembled. I stopped counting. But I think it's been months, maybe years. Time is wrong here. Her words sank like a knife. Months? Years? How long had it been since I left my apartment, since my family saw me? Then came the release. No warning, no explanation. One moment I was strapped to the table. The next, everything dissolved into white. My lungs burned as if I'd been drowning. I blinked, and I was lying on wet pavement outside my building. It was raining. I scrambled up, my chest aching, both hearts hammering. The street looked the same trees, the same street lights. But something was off. The posters on the wall were different. A new cafe had replaced the old corner shop. A billboard showed a date. 1 year later. I staggered toward my apartment, rain plastering my clothes to my skin. When I opened the door, my mother was there. She froze. Her face went pale as if she'd seen a ghost. Tears welled instantly in her eyes. "God, it's you," she whispered, trembling. "It's really you." I didn't understand at first. She grabbed me, holding so tight it hurt. Behind her, my father stumbled into the hall, his hands shaking. He looked older, thinner, with streaks of gray that hadn't been there before. "You've been gone a year," he said hoarsely. "A whole year. We buried an empty coffin." The words crashed over me, harder than any beat of my alien heart. A year. For me, it had been days 3, maybe 4. But to them, I had been dead. That night, I lay in my old bed, staring at the ceiling. My chest felt heavy, stretched. With trembling hands, I touched the scar. And then, slowly, I pressed harder. I felt it. 2 distinct pulses colliding and separating under my ribs. Not imagination. Not madness. Real. And I knew, with every terrifying beat, that I had brought something back with me. My parents insisted I see a doctor. I didn't argue. I couldn't sleep, couldn't focus. Each beat inside my chest reminded me I was no longer human in the way I had been. The hospital smelled of antiseptic and fear. I sat on the cold examination table, shivering under the paper gown. My mother paced outside the door, refusing to leave me alone. Dr. Patel, a cardiologist with tired eyes, placed a stethoscope against my chest. He froze almost immediately. He pressed harder, moved it to the left, then the right. His brows furrowed deeper with each pause. "Again," he muttered. "Hold still." He checked 3 more times before finally pulling the stethoscope out of his ears. His face was pale, his lips dry. You have 2 rhythms," he whispered. "I don't understand. I swallowed hard. I know. I feel them. He blinked, shook his head, and wheeled in an ultrasound machine. Gel smeared cold against my skin as he pressed the probe into my chest. The monitor flickered, then resolved into an image that made him stagger back. 2 hearts, both beating, one larger, slightly darker, its rhythm slower, steadier. The other mind frantic. Human! My mother gasped, clutching her chest. Dear God! Dr. Patel turned, his voice trembling. This is impossible. You shouldn't be alive. You shouldn't. The door opened before he could finish. 2 men in black suits entered without knocking. They were tall, clean-shaven, with the kind of posture that screamed military. One carried a folder. The other simply stood and observed. Doctor, the first man said evenly. We'll take it from here. Patel blinked, flustered. Excuse me. This is my... No, it isn't. The agent cut him off. He handed Patel a document stamped with red lettering. Patel's eyes scanned it once, and his expression collapsed. He didn't argue again. The second agent looked at me. His eyes were cold, clinical. You'll come with us. My mother stepped forward. He's not going anywhere. The agent's gaze didn't waver. Ma'am, your son is in critical condition. We're transferring him to a secure facility for his safety and yours. I wanted to protest, but I couldn't, because deep down I knew they weren't lying. My chest throbbed with unnatural power. Each beat of the second heart seemed to spread heat through my body, as if the alien organ were slowly taking control. They escorted me through back halls, past nurses who looked away as though instructed not to see. We left through a service elevator and emerged into an unmarked black van waiting in the alley. Inside, I sat across from one of the agents. He opened the folder. Photographs slid out onto the seat between us. Each showed X-rays, scans, and grainy surveillance footage of me, unconscious, strapped inside the alien ship. My chest lit up like a lantern in every shot, the second heart pulsing visibly beneath the skin. My voice shook. You knew? The agent's eyes flicked up. We've been monitoring them for decades. You're not the first, but you're the only one to survive. I stared at him, horror twisting inside me. What happened to the others? The van jolted over a bump. The agent closed the folder without answering. That silence was worse than any explanation. The van drove for hours, or maybe longer. It was impossible to tell. No windows, no sense of direction, only the faint vibration of the road beneath us. My 2 hearts pounded unevenly the entire way, as though arguing with each other. Finally, the vehicle stopped. The doors opened onto a concrete structure sunk halfway into the earth. It looked like a warehouse, but the barbed wire, the guard towers, and the absolute silence told me it was something else. Inside, the air was cool and dry, filled with the faint hum of hidden machinery. Fluorescent lights cast harsh shadows on polished metal walls. They led me to a windowless room with a bed, a desk bolted to the floor, and a single camera in the corner. This is temporary, one agent said flatly. Cooperate, and you'll be safe. Safe, the word clanged in my ears. The first night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the ship, the rows of capsules, the gray figures leaning over me, the endless hum that had seeped into my bones. My chest ached constantly. Sometimes the second heart beat so hard that my ribs vibrated. The next morning, they took me to the lab. It was a sprawling underground chamber, filled with equipment that looked half military, half medical. Screens displayed live scans of my body. Electrodes clung to my skin, wires coiling into machines I didn't recognize. A doctor in a white coat studied the monitors. He didn't introduce himself, didn't smile. His voice was clinical, detached. 2 hearts, both functioning independently, blood pressure inconsistent, organ integration unstable. He turned to the agents. If this continues, his human heart may fail. The words froze me. Fail? I demanded. You mean I'll die? The doctor finally looked at me, his gaze empty. Not necessarily. The secondary organ appears capable of sustaining life on its own. The question is whether you will remain. Yuan. Before I could respond, alarms blared. The screens lit up as my second heart surged. I doubled over, gasping. My veins burned with heat. The agents rushed forward, but I raised my hand, and every metal object in the room vibrated violently. Instruments clattered off tables. A glass container shattered. The pain stopped as suddenly as it began. I stared at my hand, trembling. The air still buzzed faintly, as if my body had emitted some kind of pulse. The doctor scribbled notes without looking at me. Electromagnetic resonance. The organ is not just biological. It's an engine. That night, alone in my cell, I tested it. I focused on the rhythm of the second heart, slowed my breathing, and pressed my palm against the metal desk. A faint hum answered. The bolts rattled, just slightly. Fear and fascination battled inside me. Whatever the aliens had done, they hadn't just given me another heart. They had given me power. But I wasn't free. The following days blurred into endless tests, blood draws, brain scans, strength trials. Sometimes the agents spoke to each other in hushed tones outside my door. I caught fragments, signal spikes, matching patterns we've tracked before. If he stabilizes, we may finally have a link. At night, I dreamed of the gray figures. I heard their voice in my skull, calm and inescapable. You are built. You are ours. Each morning, I woke with the same thought pounding in my head, louder than both my hearts combined. If they gave me this power, it was for a reason. I learned quickly that the facility wasn't a hospital. It was a prison dressed up in sterile white. Every door locked automatically. Cameras blinked in every corner. Guards in black uniforms stood silently in the halls, rifles slung casually across their chests. But they were nervous. I could see it in their eyes every time my second heart surged, every time the machines monitoring me flickered. They weren't protecting me. They were protecting themselves from me. One night, I overheard two of them whispering outside my cell. "What if it activates again?" one asked. "Then we're screwed." "Command says it's not just biological, it's broadcasting." "Broadcasting what?" The guard lowered his voice. "A signal. They think the organ's a beacon. If it spikes hard enough, it'll call them back." My stomach dropped. So that's why they were keeping me alive. Not out of compassion, not even for study. I was bait. The next morning, during another round of tests, the agent with the folder entered the lab. He placed photographs on the table in front of me. Images of crop fields, deserts, even oceans. All with the same strange symbols carved into the ground. Vast geometric patterns that only made sense from the sky. "These," he said, tapping the images, "began appearing decades ago. We believe they are landing codes. Your organ reacts whenever we bring you near one." I felt the second heart thud harder at the sight of the photos. Heat rushed through me. I pushed the pictures away, terrified. "I don't want to be your radio tower." The agent's eyes narrowed. "That isn't your choice." That night, I decided I had to escape. When the guard brought me food, I focused, syncing with the rhythm of the second heart. The tray in his hand rattled violently, startling him. His grip loosened. The metal spoon clattered to the floor, and I flicked my hand subtly. The spoon skidded across the ground, striking the electronic lock on the door with a shower of sparks. The guard shouted, lunging at me, but the lock clicked open. Adrenaline surged. My two hearts pounded in unison for the first time. One human, One alien, and I ran. The halls blurred. Alarms screamed. Lights strobed red. My bare feet slapped against the cold floor as I bolted past confused technicians and guards fumbling with weapons. I nearly made it. The exit loomed ahead, a steel door half open as another team rushed inside. But then the surge came. My chest exploded with pain. I stumbled, clutching my ribs. The second heart convulsed, beating so hard I thought it would tear me apart. The walls around me vibrated, lights flickering wildly. Then I heard it. Not the guards, not the alarms, the voice. Do not flee. You are ours. The surge knocked me to my knees. Every metal object around me rattled uncontrollably. A guard's rifle flew from his hands, slamming against the ceiling. Sparks rained from overhead lights. The whole facility groaned like it was about to collapse. Hands grabbed me, shoving me to the ground. A needle pierced my arm. Darkness swallowed me whole. When I woke, I was strapped to the table again, the agent with the folder standing over me. His expression was colder than ever. "You see," he said, "even if you run, it won't matter. They'll always find you. Because that second heart of yours, it isn't just keeping you alive, it's keeping you connected." My blood ran cold. Connected. I understood then. This wasn't an escape. Not really, because I was never meant to leave. I had stopped pretending I was a patient. The guards had stopped pretending they were protecting me. By now, it was clear. I wasn't a man under care. I was an object under observation, a ticking device no one could switch off. Every time my second heart surged, the machines monitoring me screamed with unreadable data. The doctors wrote faster, their faces pale. Even the agents, always stone-faced, began to show cracks. Their eyes darted nervously to the ceiling whenever the resonance pulsed. I overheard them often. They weren't careful anymore. "He's not stable," one whispered. "He doesn't need to be stable," another answered. "He just needs to keep transmitting." Transmitting. The word made my skin crawl. I wasn't just living with this thing inside me. I was broadcasting, screaming into space every second, whether I wanted to or not. One evening, during yet another round of endless scans, I looked the agent with the folder in the eye. "Tell me the truth. What happens if I die?" He hesitated. For the first time, his mask cracked. "If you die," he said, "the signal stops. But killing you doesn't stop them. It just means we won't know when they arrive." "So I'm your radar," I spat. He didn't deny it. That night, I couldn't take it anymore. I waited until the lights dimmed and the hallways went quiet. Then I pressed my palm against the wall and listened, not with my ears, but with my second heart. The bolts inside the door trembled. Metal groaned softly. I pushed harder. The lock popped. I ran. Barefoot, half-starved, I tore down the sterile corridors. Red emergency lights cast everything in a hellish glow. Somewhere, alarms triggered, but I didn't care. I needed air. I needed freedom. I needed to prove to myself that I was still human. The facility stretched on like a maze. Guards shouted, boots pounding after me. My two hearts slammed in unison, one terrified, the other calm, powerful, almost guiding me. I burst into an open hangar. For the first time since my abduction, I saw the night sky. Stars glittered above, infinite and cold. For a heartbeat, I almost laughed. I had made it. Then the second heart betrayed me. It pulsed so violently that the ground itself shook. Metal containers toppled. Sparks rained from the ceiling. The guards froze, staring at me in horror. One whispered, "God, it's signaling again." And in that moment, I understood the trap. Escape wasn't freedom. Escape was a flare. Every step I took, Every breath I drew sent the message louder. I fell to my knees, clutching my chest as heat radiated outward, rattling the walls. I wanted to scream, but only one thought pounded in my skull. They were already on their way. The guards swarmed me, slamming me to the ground. A syringe pierced my arm. Darkness swallowed everything. As I slipped under, I heard the agent's voice, colder than the drugs in my veins. "You can't run from a beacon. Sooner or later, it gets answered." Sedation held me like chains, dragging me through hours of silence. But sedation couldn't silence my second heart. Its rhythm grew heavier, deeper, like drums echoing through the hollow of the world. I dreamed of stars, of corridors lined with capsules, of black eyes staring down at me. When I woke, the facility was shaking. Red alarms blared through every hallway. Guards sprinted past my room, shouting over the roar of sirens. Metal ceiling panels rattled, dust falling like snow. And beneath it all, beneath the chaos, I felt it. The second heart wasn't just beating anymore. It was answering something. I struggled to sit up. My restraints had been tightened after the escape, but they quivered, locks clicking against the bolts. My pulse synced with the second rhythm one human, frantic, the other alien, steady, unrelenting. Together they pounded like war drums. The agent with the folder appeared in the doorway. His face was pale, his tie loosened, sweat dripping down his forehead. "They're here," he said. I wanted to deny it, but I didn't have to. The walls themselves shook with every thrum of the second heart. It was no longer inside me. It was in the air, the floor, the machines. A deafening boom split the night. The entire facility lurched sideways. Lights flickered out, plunging us into darkness, before emergency strobes bathed everything in red. Somewhere above, metal screamed, as if the sky itself were tearing open. I was freed again. Not by mercy, not by men, but by the organ. The restraints snapped like thread. I staggered to my feet as the agent stared. "You understand now," he said hoarsely. "You weren't implanted. You were rebuilt. You're their link." The ground cracked beneath us. Dust filled the air. I staggered toward the shattered wall at the end of the hall. Outside, the desert burned with pale light. And then I saw it. A ship the size of a mountain descended silently from the sky, blotting out the stars. Its surface rippled like liquid, absorbing the floodlights of the facility. Beams of energy carved into the sand, sculpting perfect geometric symbols that glowed red-hot. The guards opened fire. Bullets froze in midair, suspended like raindrops in amber, before falling uselessly. The vessel didn't slow. My second heart thundered louder, forcing me to stumble forward. My human heart tried to resist, hammering desperately, but the alien rhythm drowned it out. The agent grabbed my arm, his voice trembling. "Listen to me. Don't give in. Fight it. If you don't, you'll be the end of us." I wanted to. God, I wanted to. But the pain was unbearable. I screamed as heat burst from my chest, rattling every sheet of metal, every shattered beam. The entire facility vibrated with the pulse of my organ. And then the voice came, not as a whisper, not inside my skull, but as a roar that filled the sky. "The vessel is prepared. The integration is complete." The ground split open. Beams of white light engulfed me, lifting me from the rubble. The agent's voice faded beneath the roar. "God, help us!" The world dissolved into brilliance. When I opened my eyes, I was no longer in the desert. I stood in a colossal chamber, walls alive with veins of light. Rows of gray beings surrounded me, their black eyes fixed on my chest. My two hearts pounded as one perfectly synchronized, no longer clashing. I touched my ribs. Heat radiated outward, not painful anymore, but commanding. The chorus of voices filled the chamber. You are built. You are bridge. You are ours. For the first time, I didn't resist, because I understood. My second heart wasn't just theirs. It had always been theirs. And now, so was I.